Welcome to Adults Only Comedy Berlin. Today, finally, we have Freddi Gralle.
Hello. So happy to be back.
Yay! Well, yeah, because I mentioned that you were going to be on it when I ended up doing my solo one. Yeah.
Yes.
And I credited you with the whole asking people to ask questions. And
nice.
the response has been overwhelming.
Really?
No, I haven't had a single question.
Oh. I have a question.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. What's your question?
Oh, you want to start with it straight away?
Well, it's naturally come up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we need any preliminaries?
No, probably not.
No.
I had a really difficult conversation about contraception with the person that I'm dating.
Ooh.
And I think it's partly that I snapped because I was like tense about like more like the relationship part of it. Because
You're already defending your
I know.
behavior. Stop being such a woman.
No, but he was like, it's a long distance relationship and we're going to see each other. And so he was like, hey, I'm looking forward. And then he was like, so the birth control is out of the question. And I immediately replied, 100%, how's your vasectomy coming? And I, in my mind, it's just like, yeah, that's just like a joke. It was kind of like, but it was like part of it. I was like, oh, this came out of nowhere because I haven't seen him since August. So like, we haven't really talked a lot about it. It's like a very, very vague situation that we're in.
Okay.
And so it kind of threw me. And then I think I just like panicked or something, and then he got like so offended. He was like, that is not okay. Like,
what? But why is he offended at that?
No, because he thought it was like a really catty response, and he was like, hey, I'm looking forward. I mean, he's basically opening up a conversation about sex, which I appreciate in general, but I was just like, I mean, I did close down the conversation a little bit, but I tried to
Freddi, the tone that I'm speaking with right now is like, I don't believe you shut down a conversation there, and I don't believe he was starting a conversation about sex. He was starting a conversation about you taking responsibility for the sex and the consequences.
Yeah, I think that's the first reaction also I had, and I spent like 48 hours justifying it in front of myself that I have every right to.
Absolutely. It's not just about going, hey, hey, could you take 100% responsibility for the pregnancy concept? And also then it's like, and would you mind adjusting your entire hormonal system in order to accommodate
Absolutely.
my ability so that I don't have to do anything?
Absolutely.
Would you mind taking 100% responsibility for our sexual...
I know. And I brought that up to him, and I was like, and I went over all the contraception methods and like checked again if maybe there was something that would sound like okay for me, but unfortunately all the side effects for different medical reasons are not cool. And then he was like, well, I kind of disagree because normally men with the condoms have 100% of the responsibility in most other situations. And so he felt I was a little, that I just considered, because I was angry at him, because I said exactly that. I was like, well, you think like it's just mine, and it's like it's a complicated topic for women because like we don't want to do it mostly, and then if we say no, like everybody's also unhappy, so it feels like it's like a lose-lose situation. And then he was like, well, that's not true, because if you're not taking contraception, then we always have to, and like it's their responsibility to like have condoms and use them and not you lose their erection and all that. And I was like, well, that's actually true, I have to say. And I don't consider, for some reason, I think I don't consider condoms like a real contraception method because it's just like always there or something. I don't know.
Well, because it's not just contraception, it's also safe sex.
Yeah, sure.
So actually condoms, we know this, but condoms are the only way you can have safe sex. Like and whether or not you guys are exclusive or whatever the dynamic is, so it's not just contraception. It's like it is the most, it's the safest way to have sex. Absolutely. And yes, it involves having condoms and a man putting a condom on, and a condom can be it can affect, the whole dynamic. It can make it harder for him to come. It can make it harder for the sex to continue. That's all very possible. I agree. but just in terms of safety, it's just like, yeah, like there are female condoms, but
I know
no one's using those because they're not good.
No.
And, you know, I think the argument for always having a condom no matter what, guys, like condoms aren't 100% effective. So if anything does happen, it's still on the woman to have to deal with that afterwards. If the condom breaks, if the condom is, you know, that's that 1% ineffective, then it's the woman's body who has to deal with the consequences.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
you have to wear some plastic. Oh, you're going to say, you know, you're going to protect yourself against all STDs.
Yeah.
And
I think what I realized is, I mean, yeah, like obviously you have to have a conversation and everybody gets to say like how they feel about it. But, oh fuck, I just lost my point. But I think like I never really thought about it from the male's perspective, not in
that
just
it's
like
their responsibility.
Yeah, that they also feel like a burden and that they feel very unhappy about the situation because they don't enjoy it and they're forced to do it all the time. And so I don't know. It was a little bit of a wake up moment. I mean, there was a lot of like kind of relationship dynamics involved.
For sure, just being forced to do it. It's like if you don't want pregnancy, then. Yeah. It's you know, it's not being forced. And like there is you know, there's the withdrawal method, but there's nothing sure about it. So yes, if you don't want to have children, if you don't want to have a vasectomy, then you wear a condom. Like it's I don't and it's about as much protecting themselves as protecting the woman, you know, or the man or whatever the situation is. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I mean, I
agree that there's this responsibility thing.
I like somebody who challenges me, and then I'm always like, I don't know. I think I always go back and forth. It's like, oh, this is like my feminist stance, and like I need to be heard, and I always assume that the other person doesn't know enough about it, so I assume that I have to lecture them, and they don't. And yeah, so I don't know. I was like a little bit,
but also like there's the perspective of a woman as well. The number of times we have to not fight, but like. We have to almost beg for them to use a condom. And we shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that's the fair thing to, like, generalize that much. I know a lot of men who are, like, crazy careful to use a condom.
And I know a lot of men who are not.
Yeah, I also know. Yeah, I've also seen that happen.
And I you know, when a guy's like, "Oh, condoms," it's like, great, fantastic, you know, like, yes, please. Mm-hmm. And every time it's like getting to that point, I'm like, condom. And then when the guy just,
yeah,
and it's like, whoa, you're putting so much at risk here. Like, just, yeah. I think there is, like, if all guys were good guys, and so, there is this pressure on men to use condoms. And so, but the thing is, a condom, it affects like both both partners can buy the condoms. Both partners can figure out a way to keep the energy good whilst they're, you know, working with the application of the condom. Both partners experience less sensitivity.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so really the only responsibility the man is having is like even the partner can put the condom on the penis, right? It's not usually the best thing, but like it can be a shared activity.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a shared cost. It's shared reduced sensitivity.
Yeah.
So it's like, I respect that. It's like if every guy were a good guy and they've taken this responsibility seriously, then okay, that's a bit of a burden, but hormonal treatment and having a device inserted into your body, that's not the same as two people stopping at a point in sex and putting on some plastic to have as a protection between them.
Yeah,
it's not comparable.
And just like all of like even the non-hormonal ones, like the copper coil and all that, it's just like, you know, I had endometriosis once, like in 2009. Like I don't think I have like a lasting condition, but I had an operation, had cysts removed. And so one of the biggest side effects of the copper is like that your periods are going to get heavier and longer and crampier. And I'm like, okay, that's obviously the last thing I need.
Yeah, if you suffer from endometriosis, isn't that basically what endometriosis does anyway?
Exactly.
You have
so I'm like glad that it's
periods.
Sort of not happening anymore. I mean, like people don't know anything about it, so they don't know why it comes or goes or whatever.
No, right.
I'm just like lucky, but I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not. And I just like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have something inserted into like there's like this. Why? We can just use the safe method of sex for, safe on all fronts. Like, even if your partner's a dirty liar, like that way, like you're always safe. Like,
yeah, but it's just like, it is and it remains such a frustrating topic because like, obviously, like if the condom is the best solution, that's a really bad solution still. And everybody is like, I can't believe there's nothing better around.
I know. I did buy, I do think there are some really good condoms now. Like, I just had so many broken condoms in my 20s before I became, when I was pretty strict about condoms. I've become somehow complacent. I want to blame the pandemic. I feel like there's a bit of everything could shut down tomorrow. It doesn't justify not using a condom. I'm never one that's like, don't worry about the condom. I'm always like, please use a condom. But then the guy will often.
Yeah, and also nobody does oral sex with a condom.
I know, and you can absolutely get chlamydia from oral sex.
It's totally useless. It's ridiculous. It's like for pregnancy, and like I'm sure it's like you're more likely to get an STD with like penetration, but yeah, like oral sex.
Come on, totally. And but Lelo makes like really strong condoms and like never, like you can jump off the penis and it stays on the penis, like you can have quite
is that what they do in the test centers?
Yes.
Like crash test stuff.
Exactly. She's riding it, like whoop, throws her off, and it's still on there. Nice. And like the breakages, they're super strong. Where was I going with this? But I was thinking with my current situation, if anyone listened to the last episode.
We're all up to date. Yeah.
I don't even want to mention the second part of it though. Did I tell you the second part of what happened? Like a week later,
I don't know.
A week after.
Yeah, that you met. Oh no, that the person wanted you to come over.
No, basically the guy who. That's different. So the guy who I had sex with, it wasn't safe. Who then texted me the next day was like, you should. The day after was like, you should get the pill. And then I was like, why didn't you tell me yesterday? You've waited 24 hours. I told you I was about to go, I was a day or two off from ovulating. So like, why would you wait a day to tell me that if you do think that was unsafe?
Yeah.
And then a week later.
Did you take the pill?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And then a week later, even better, he texts me and he goes, so someone that I slept with, I was seeing a while ago, just told me that she's got chlamydia. And I was like, oh my God. Are you fucking serious? I was like, at this point, I hope that I gave you HIV, like fuck you, like making me take the morning after. And so I was like, why isn't there a pill that's just all in one? Like, I've really fucked up last night, like morning after, chlamydia antibiotics. Just like all of
just the hangover pill.
Just like just.
Oh my God! Yeah, the side effects will be minimal.
Better than any of the others. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So I've got it in my calendar 6 weeks because chlamydia and those kinds of viruses don't show up in your blood, in your urine until 6 weeks after. So I've got myself booked in. Like I'm gonna go and get tested 6 weeks from that date, and and hopefully I don't get pregnant. I then also texted the guy. I was like low-key fuming but chill, but the other day I texted him just being like, hey, he offered to pay for half of the morning after pill.
How much is it?
It was like €26.
Okay.
And I hadn't received the transfer, and so I texted him just being like, hey, I haven't received the transfer. It's not about the money, but honestly I think you should actually pay for the whole thing because I had to go through the trouble of getting it and then had the physical effects of it.
Yeah, totally.
And then I said, also given that you waited a whole day before you shared your concern with me, if that pill doesn't work, I will be asking you to cover all the costs of the abortion.
Yeah. I thought all the 18 years.
No, I do not want his child in the world. I don't think he should be a father at any level.
Not at this point, it seems.
I think maybe never, actually, with him.
20 years.
But what was crazy was I did this radio show program, for Refuge Worldwide. It's a online radio channel, and I had done their festival like 2 months before, and the woman who ran the festival, she was like, "I want you on my radio show." I was like, "Cool." We met for a coffee one day, and then we did the radio show right after I recorded the last episode for this podcast. The day after I did it, and it was good because I got all the story out about this guy who I refer to as El Salvador. He so the guy who I have this long history with, blah blah blah. Anyway, I got all of that out on the solo podcast episode. The next day I do this radio show. We end up having a drink, this woman and I, afterwards, and she's Scottish, and then she starts telling me, "Oh yeah, so I'm this weekend, like she was talking about all the sorts of things, but she's like, "Hey, this weekend I'm shooting this short film that I've been working on with a friend." Bless you. And I was like, "Oh yeah, what's that about?" And she starts describing what it's about, and I'm like, "Who is your co-producer?" Because she just described exactly what El Salvador was working on, and it turns out that she's been working on a short film with him for the last year. And when I was like, "It's him," and she was like, "You're Anna?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, so...
That is so weird.
So weird. So good that I'd gotten all of the story out already about him the day before, so it didn't come out in the radio show. And then on air,
God,
that coming
so weird.
Right.
Ah.
Berlin is tiny.
Oh, it is.
And we found out that we were dating him at the same time.
Oh,
like,
they were also dating.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that weird?
Yeah, the whole thing was super weird. It's like, what the
Oh my God.
Yeah. So yeah, there should be a super pill for mistakes.
I guess.
Obviously, that's not.
I just want like stuff on the men's front.
I want vasectomies to be developed. Like, the thing is, vasectomies are really well developed.
I know.
It takes 20 minutes in a GP's office. There is no scalpel, and it's reversible.
I know. I don't understand why not more men, because so many men in their like 20s and even 30s are like so convinced that they don't want a kid. And I'm like, well, let's just make it easier for everyone. Totally. Like, why haven't you taken the responsibility? Oh, you're scared that your balls are gonna get touched by a thing, and then it's maybe fuck off. Like, we've been told as as early as 15 or 16 that we should change our entire hormonal system so that men can come inside us. Fuck. I mean, to be fair, women take the pill, especially when they're younger, for all sorts of reasons, like acne and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, sure, it's also for the men.
But it's also, a very easy way for parents to feel comfortable that they're not going to have a teenage pregnancy on their hands. Yeah. Like, yes, there's acne, and I wonder how strong the acne thing is. Like, surely there'd be a pill that had nothing to do with regulating your.
I mean, I'm sure it's something hormonal with the. I don't know enough about it, but
I don't know enough about it either. I'm just getting all.
But since we're like on the topic of like doing stuff for men and the male gaze, you kind of hinted at a story that happened to you. I want to hear it all.
Yeah. Okay. So I haven't been this angry for a while. Surprisingly, wasn't even that angry about the whole pill situation a few weeks ago. Like, it's just like, oh, that's my own fault. I shouldn't have gone there. But it's not my own fault. But anyway. What happened was I was at a comedy show a few nights ago, and I started talking with someone who is a bit of a Jordan Peterson fan. So, there's already issues there. We've butted heads before, but it's usually been pretty respectful, this comedian and I. There was an instance. Do you know the history of our roast? What happened with the roast battle back in 2019? No. I roasted a comedian who's no longer in the scene, who, was not considered to be very progressive in terms of gender role understandings. No. I used to be a dentist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, boom, easy. And I roasted him, and I roasted him hard, and I won quite well. And there was one joke that was really, really mean. but it was funny. And as a result of that roast, this comedian that I had this argument with 2 days ago, he actually like specially requested to battle me. And that battle I was also hosting, unfortunately. And then the whole roast battle with this comedian was him attacking, like joke by joke, my roast of his friend from the week before. That's so weird. It's just like, let's go suck his dick and like, you know, make him feel better. You don't have to like, and and apparently he still like held a grudge against me for how I roasted his friend.
2 years
like
ago?
Like a year later he was still like, that was, you know, so out of what's the term, like
now I kind of want to hear the joke that you told that was so mean.
Yeah, okay. So so this comedian's partner was pregnant, and this comedian was in Berlin. His partner was in another country, and so the joke was, what will I call him? Dentist. Okay. Dentist. A dentist is a failed dentist, right? He's a failed dentist. He's a failed clown, and he's hoping that failure runs in the family so that his girlfriend's pregnancy also fails.
Oh my God.
It's really mean. But like the way he was living in Berlin, it was just like, dude, like you're, in terms of a father to be, like, how are you supporting your partner right now? You don't like, you're talking about bringing a child into the world, but
He's definitely not making money in Berlin.
Definitely not. Exactly. Apparently I crossed the line.
Okay. Wow. It's a roast.
Exactly.
Jeez.
So anyway, this argument, we're all just hanging out the back in this comedy room, and then I end up just accidentally next to, this comedian who was defending his dentist friend, and we've been hanging out fine recently, no problems. But basically, he brought up, we're talking about something came up about hymens, and someone was saying, I talk about how my 2020 was like, I was, growing my hymen back. And then someone made some comment about, oh yeah, that's like quite a famous comedian's joke about, and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, I'm sure someone has said that before. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. For me, it's just specifically to do with 2020, and it's in relation to my housemates all going through female changes, blah, blah, blah. And then, what do I call this comedian to be anonymous? Dennis. All right. That's a bit confusing. Dentist and Dennis, but let's go with Dennis. Yeah, I like this. Dennis is then, he's like, well, I think like the hymen, like poor women, it's like to have something biological that you can use to, check if virginity, like it's given virginity a value, because you can confirm if it's there or not. And I'm like, well, I think, it's the social structure of how the world works that they've found something to use as a test, as a benchmark for virginity. If in a matriarchal society, maybe a man whose penis hadn't been like hard ever before, because he did no labor and was, like a total kind of like subject, like a object, you know what I mean? And just like a, just like a thing, and he didn't work hard and he'd never used his penis before. And so if like you pulled the skin down and it bled, that could be the test for,
oh my God.
That could be the test for a man's virginity, theoretically. Yeah. Because the hymen is no true test of virginity, right?
No.
You can break it easily. If you're a hardworking teenage girl and climbing over fences and, riding animals of sorts, you're not going to bleed when you break your hymen. Yeah. Well, your hymen isn't going to break with sex.
Yeah.
It'll already be broken. Yeah.
Of course, it's not the problem that the hymen exists. It's the problem that virginity has such a high...
Exactly. And it's not because the hymen exists that virginity can be tested. No. Like it's not a sure method of checking virginity. It's been looked for. And then the conversation went on. That was an okay point, but I really kind of had to, show and that's fine. And then the conversation went on to... social constructs. And basically the comment was made that women, I was like, I feel, I do feel, as much as I choose how to exist and I question social constructs, I do, for example, feel the pressure of looking attractive and trying to stay looking as young as possible as a woman, and I see the hypocrisy in that. Like when I recently watched a movie, Love and Other Drugs, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal in that film is supposed, like, he's only in his like early 30s. He looks like shit. Like, he is so wrinkled. Like, he needs to use more moisturizer. It's
but wasn't
crazy.
he like playing like a drug addict? Don't you think they wanted him to?
He wasn't a drug addict.
Oh,
no.
Oh, okay.
No, he was playing like a fresh-faced pharmaceutical company representative who, like, fucks chicks all the time. And you look at it, like most male stars, that they haven't necessarily aged well. No one's like, oh, he's wrinkly, or whereas women, it's just like, you expect a completely, all of these things. And so Dennis was saying, well, that's because biology dictates that men want to have sex with younger women because younger women are more fertile, and women want to have sex with older men. And I'm like,
Why again?
Why? Like, oh, yes.
Because they're so wise.
Because they're so wise, or because they're more. And I was like, look, I think there are some elements of that, like some biological things, maybe, but no, the pressure that women are under to look young, and the level of, the level of trauma or damage, or the weight that we carry around, that we have on the value of our appearance, is crazy compared to men.
And I mean, like, it's a little easy to say that because I think that, for sure, like, everybody wants to have sex with somebody who's attractive because that normally means they look healthy. So I totally understand that that's probably a biological thing. Yeah. But it's way more what the media tells us. Who's like, I think I texted you this, like, oh, so really, thin or like narrow hipped women biologically would make no sense because they can't have, 10 children, but yet, they've been the beauty standard for a long time. I mean, now the beauty standard is like expanding a little bit, but it makes no sense at all.
Exactly. And the problem was Dennis was just talking over me. He was even kind of ridiculing me, like laughing as I was saying things. And it became a really disrespectful interaction. And
was anybody else there who heard it?
There were a bunch of male comedians. There were like five or so. Yeah, I can't talk. 5 or so other comedians, but Dennis and I were sort of standing at the back and having this conversation relatively privately, and everyone else was engaged in their own thing. And I just got to a point where I was just like, you suggesting that women aren't under more pressure to be physically
that would be hard to.
And I was just like, I can't, I was just like, you can't, like, you arguing this and you suggesting this is just biological is like super not, it's like, and the way you're dealing with this conversation right now is just so, like, I'm not going to argue with this. I'm not going to argue with you about this. This is not enjoyable. And, but I'm not sure how relaxed I sounded when I said all of that. I was like, Dennis,
let me take a wild guess.
I guess we have to be on drugs to hang out. I'm not enjoying this conversation. I'm not going to continue with this with you. I'm leaving. I'm done. And I stormed out. And then I got into the street and I just burst into tears because I was just so frustrated. It was just like there was just this attitude that was so ridiculing and so dismissive. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, suggesting that females' oppression is simply due to their biology is like suggesting
that it's kind of okay.
And it's like, would you? Yeah, just didn't. It's like as offensive as being like a Holocaust denier or a slavery denier. It's like female oppression is very real, and there's like a whole heap of.
I think it's hard for men who live in this society, because I feel like I've had a lot of those kinds of conversations where they look at their own life right now and be like, well, but I see women being empowered everywhere. They you know, there's female quotas, you know, in the comedy scene, we get treated well in the sense that we do get a lot of spots because I understand that it's good to have females in the lineup.
But there's a reason why there are fewer females in comedy, and these men who are like, oh yeah, the female, you know, women's quota. It's like
But I think that's why I realized that the other day when I had an argument with someone that the guy was talking about right now when he talked about the situation of females in the world, and I always talk historically, so I always say, yeah, but look, I'm never speaking just for myself because I don't feel like super oppressed necessarily.
No.
But it's a bigger conversation. I think a lot of men just have their experience of seeing, you know, women kind of rising up right now, which is absolutely true. And so they're like, but what are you complaining about? We're like, no, but it's like a solidarity thing. Like there's like so much still to be done. And like we're still dealing with the trauma of people that have, like, just like hearing stories of how women were treated. It doesn't make you feel empowered. It just makes you feel like, oh fuck, like that's what people thought about us. Like even like 50 years ago, that's not a lot of time. And it doesn't, you know, it makes you not necessarily, it's like, oh, I'm going to sit down and doubt myself, but it's like, that's like a punch every time you hear that.
And yeah, there's still like, yes. So there's this collective, you know, female collective trauma, like, you know, unconscious, conscious, our mothers, you know, like we're just in the generation where we can choose to not have children and not experience that much judgment for it, for example. Or, you know, cool, we can be in like, you know, we're encouraged to be in the workplace, but we're still judged if we choose to not have kids, let's be honest. Like, or it's less and less.
Or not judged, but just like asked a lot about it. Like you have to like explain yourself more. Yeah,
for sure. And then, you know, in terms of like our role models, it's like, it's a lot harder. Yeah, we get more spots as comedians because they need more females, but it's because we don't have many role models. We don't have as many paths blazed for us. There's not so many, you know, examples that show us, yes, we can be comedians, and you know, that's a natural, easy like thing to do, or absolutely. You know, whatever, musicians or just creatives who make money. But then
no, I wanted to go on a tangent about I'm in a writer's room, or I finished a writer's room for a German TV series, and it's 3 female writers, and it's gone on a while, and they have had several other writers' rooms that didn't bring the results that they wanted. And so we are like the last and current writers' room. And then one of the producers, after the first day, and we all got along super well, and it was just like a joy to work with these other women, just like throw ideas around and get, you know, we just made real fast progress. And he like took me aside and he was like, yeah, it's like so amazing, like y'all get on so well, because he was like, you know, you being all women, like you never know if there's going to be a lot of arguing between you. And I'm like, excuse me? Like he was like seriously surprised that we got on well.
What?
I know.
But it's the same as a group of men. Come on. Like a group of men don't necessarily get
like,
along well.
Oh yeah, there's like no rivalry between them. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, the ignorance. Like, yeah, I do make a joke about, that highlights something. I do make a joke about how, my last share house maybe didn't work because it was 3 women.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that women don't fight. Obviously.
No, it's not. To be honest though, the first 2.5 years was pure joy. So, you know, it was just the new house.
Maybe it was the lockdown.
And I think it was also the lockdown, exactly. But there's also this, you know, there's still like, I don't know. There's still this. I still think that we still have to be like. I made these comments in my solo on Sunday that you know, wearing a face mask when I like makes me feel safer.
Yeah, we talked about this. I think at the show. Yeah, I also kind of like it to hide a little bit more. And
it's like that's not the answer.
Yeah,
it's like we shouldn't be covering our bodies because of for fear of unwanted attention, and yet. It's interesting that the face mask has you know, highlighted this. It's like, oh, there is comfort.
Yeah.
And just being able to cover up my body more. And I definitely, well, I'm not interested in like showing my boobs, or, you know, I'll show my legs in the summer and stuff, but like, yeah, there's a different thing of like, I'm happy to show my body, but I don't always want to feel like I don't know, sexualizing myself. I just want to be able to wear whatever feels good. And,
yeah, exactly.
But like, yeah, the covering up your body, and then it's like, wow, like I still, yeah. If I'm wearing lipstick, for example, I love wearing a face mask because I just get that much less attention because that's covered, and then I can arrive where I want to be, where I'm and
it's all smushed.
No, I use good drying lipstick.
That's good.
But
don't you think men might feel the same about a beard? I feel like a beard often is like, men hide behind the beard a little bit.
Only if they're chubby, right?
I mean, yeah, sometimes if they don't have a great chin, but also it's like, I feel like sometimes it's a little bit of a disguise because it's, I don't know. I feel like if somebody has a beard for a long time and then takes them off, you're like, oh, this is like, you just take a closer look, and you just like see so many more like things that are maybe not perfect in their face, for example, or something, and or like you know, you don't really see the mouth, for example, and
the lips.
So I think it's very exposing when a guy takes off his beard that he's had for a long time. So I'm like,
sure.
So it is a little bit of
but I don't
covering up and like feeling less naked.
Feeling less naked, although I don't feel like I don't think one could argue that men without beards get more attention from women than men with beards. Like I much prefer a beard. Cover that shit up, man. Like, no, I'm joking.
Well, it really depends.
I like hair, you know. I like hair. I you know, if it's like once it's grown out, it's softer and it's nicer to feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more. I bring up the mask thing because it's like there's still, you know, yeah, there's statistics on like most violence happens man to man, right? But there's still the crazy statistics about how, what is it like? Far out. What's the statistic? It's something like the number of women who are murdered.
Oh yeah, like every third day in Germany, a woman is murdered.
And then something like what was it? It's like it's a crazy statistic of like 90%, or I don't want to, but like 60% or 80% of women who are murdered by their partner or an ex-partner.
Yeah. It's an insane high number. Femicide. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of femicide. Like on social media, like a lot of highlighting and awareness.
Yeah, because
I was not aware of that. That seems a number that's a little too high.
It's just a little too high, right? And so it's like, okay, cool, women's progress, but like, and maybe it's, you know, it's not like, it's sad, but when there is a white woman from like a middle to upper class, you know, background who is raped and murdered, the media goes crazy, but the number of women who are just murdered but who don't actually fall into the category of upper class or middle class women is horrible. Now, this recording actually just stopped working. For this episode, I'm going to blame lack of space on my computer. So unfortunately, there was a whole 38 minutes of conversation with Freddi Gralle that we've missed, and it got dark and intense. So I might be getting her back on, but yeah. So that has been Adults Only Comedy Berlin, and see you next time. Bye.